reading vlog. I have so many things planned for this vlog, and it's gonna actually span a couple of weeks, and that's mainly because I'm a flight attendant and I have been worked non-stop lately, so I've hardly been home to actually film anything and to spend time to read and formulate some thoughts on some books. Typically when I'm flying, I like to read some like head empty, no thoughts books that I am reading and paying attention to, but I'm not thinking too hard. Therefore, I'm going to only vlog on my days off, which are kind of far and few these days, which is fine. However, exciting plans for this vlog. I have a new bookshelf coming in that I'm going to set up and decorate, as well as actually going to the Scarborough Renaissance Festival in Texas, which is also something that I look forward to every single year. It'll be my 6th year in a row going, which is so exciting. I have another gymnastics competition because we're almost done with the season. I have 2 meets left. This is my second to last one, as well as lots of cozy crocheting, probably some journaling, and of course, reading will be occurring in this reading vlog. But I thought we'd start things off with a little bit of a haul because some of the books that came in will in fact be some books that I will be reading, and I am so excited about all of these. And spoiler alert, they're mostly Yona volumes, but it's fine, you guys. We'll start with one that's not a Yona volume and is also on this TBR, and that is The Blue Castle by L.M. Montgomery. This is the Page Classic edition, and just a little commotion for her because are you kidding me right now? When I saw this edition, I knew that this was the edition that I really wanted on my shelf, so I had to snatch it up. I have been currently reading through Anne of Green Gables, which is Ellen Montgomery's children's series, who, as you may figure, follows Anne throughout her childhood, as well as her early adult and later adult years as well, and it's been so much fun, and Ellen Montgomery's writing is just gorgeous. She has this way with words when describing the seasons that I look forward to reading every time I pick up one of her books, and this is actually one of her adult novels, which I didn't really know even existed, and it says, Valency Sterling, suffocated by societal expectations and family control, finally breaks free when faced with startling news. In a bold pursuit of joy and independence, she discovers the transformative power of love and self-determination. I am on a bit of a journey as of late to try to read some classics. Classics to me really scream spring, so I'm trying to read as many classics as I can in the spring, and once again, I am just so in love with this cover, and I'm so excited to pick this book up as well. I got one more book before I show off all the Yona volumes that I got, which I'm so excited about. I picked out pretty much like all of my favorite covers, and we'll get to that in a second. But this is another manga. It'll be the manga of the vlog, and it's actually one that is currently being adapted into an anime. Like, it's currently streaming episodically. So I will be watching some episodes of Witch Hat Atelier. We're following Coco, who dreams of being a witch, but she has always been told that witches are born and not something that you can learn to become. However, one day she apparently spies on a witch and tries out the magic for herself, but the spell goes awry in some way. This seems right up my alley, especially because I love Frere Beyond Journey's End so much. And the styles, at least when it comes to like the anime, because I watched the trailer of Witch Hat Atelier, they feel very similar in like style. I don't know how similar they are in content or like if they're comparable at all, but regardless, I have been having so much fun diving into and trying different mangas. I've tried literally all sorts these past few weeks, and I'm so excited to finally get to Witch Hat Atelier. This has been on my TBR for quite some time, and I can't wait to read the manga as well as, of course, watch a few episodes. I'm not sure how many episodes are currently out, but we'll figure that out later when I do actually sit down to watch some episodes. But very excited, and I really love the character design as well. So exciting! The moment you all have been waiting for, or at least the moment that I have been waiting to thrust upon you, which is the Yona haul. I have a few more books on my TBR, but we'll get to those in a second. Starting with volume 14, Gorgeous Love. One of my favorite covers, if not my absolute favorite cover, so stunning work here. The next two I didn't buy for the cover, but volumes 14, 15, and 16 contain my favorite arc, which is the Water Tribe arc. I'm not super deep into Yona. I'm only on volume 17 at the moment, and I'm waiting for my holds from the library to come in. However, 14, 15, 16, Water Tribe arc has been my favorite thus far, and I just knew that these were things I needed in my possession because I will be doing a reread of this arc at some point in the future. I just know it. So, volumes 15 and 16, not my favorite covers, but again, it's more about the content inside for these two at least. This next one has my favorite character, or at least one of my favorite characters. Honestly, the more I read into Yona, the more I fall in love with like all of the characters, and the harder it is to like pick a favorite character. However, Shina is so precious. I love this so much. And then Ao, this little squirrel as well. Look, he's a little Sakura. And Ao's on the cover too. It's so cute. I love it so much. And when I saw this, I knew this was a volume that I had to get my hands on. The color and composition of volume 21 as well is so good. This is Yoon. And even the back, are you kidding me? I love them so much. And then we have volume 35 as well. Stunning. I love the covers that feature like all 4 of the dragons. So good. And then we have volume 42 with some fall foliage, and then look at on the back. Oh my gosh, so good. I actually had a couple more volumes come in as well, but unfortunately they were damaged, so I did have to return them. I do believe it was volume 9 and volume 36, so I will have 2 more covers in my possession. I'm so excited to have these on my shelf. I'm actually going to probably display these on my new bookshelf that is coming in so soon, which is so exciting. It's literally coming in tomorrow, and I will have my little Yona stack. Okay, it's time to get back to business. Speaking about the rest of my TBR, which Yona technically is on my TBR. If my holds come into the library, I will be setting aside most of my reading plans and just binging through the Yona volumes. So that may happen. I'm not saying nothing else, but that may happen. Okay, next book on the TBR is The Geographer's Map to Romance by India Holton. This is a historical comedy fiction, and it follows a second chance romance sort of situation. It was a marriage of convenience, and the dynamic that is between Elodie and Gabriel is very much so like Grumpy and Sunshine, and they both don't think they're in love with each other anymore or at all to begin with. I don't know exactly the circumstances of like how they got their whole like marriage of convenience started, but they both absolutely are smitten with one another, and I guess we will be spending the book bringing them together and also saving England from some sort of magical catastrophe, which is what thrusts them back together, forcing them to work together as well. I'm extra excited about this book, not only because it has a compass and some mountains on the cover, but I am a fantasy cartographer, and geography, cartography, there's a little bit of an overlap there, so I've been so excited to dive into learning about these characters, seeing what they're up to, doing the whole thing, which leads me to something else that I have planned for this vlog, but I'm not sure if it's going to happen. I have a map that I really want to draw, but my maps tend to take like a while, and I don't know how long that this one will take me. So no promises, but that is something that I may be working on in this vlog. I do have a new release that I will be picking up when it does come out, and that is The Last Contract of Isako. This is a samurai space opera. Do I need to say any more? No, I don't think so. I read Jade City by Fonda Lee, wasn't the biggest fan just because the urban fantasy setting. However, I really liked Fonda Lee's character work and her writing, so I'm really keen to read it in a different format and in a genre that I should enjoy more. Sci-fi is not necessarily like my go-to, but I tend to enjoy most like sci-fi books that I pick up, and this is very much so a blend, it feels, of sci-fi and fantasy coming together, and I'm so excited to get my hands on a copy of this book. And then the last book on my TBR is not really one that I'm like 100% needing to get to, but it's probably one that I'll slowly listen to throughout this vlog, and that is Warbreaker. I've been listening to it via audiobook while I've been crocheting because I have been working on my granny square blanket. I want to get this done by fall, and so far, slow progress. Very slow progress. And we are basically out of yarn, which leads me to what we're doing first in this video, which is what I've been wanting to do literally all last week, but yarn wasn't on sale. I'm so bloody keen to go pick up some skeins and get back to working on this project, probably listening to Warbreaker or watching some YouTube. I honestly don't know. That is all for my TBR. As of right now, like I mentioned earlier, this vlog is going to span quite a few weeks, so if I end up adding more to my reading, we will simply talk about those books when we get there, but I'm going to try to take my time with all of these, enjoy it. But regardless, I hope you are as excited as I am. I'm excited to read these books, do all the activities that I've mentioned, so without further ado, I'm gonna go ahead and finally go buy myself some skeins and do some crocheting.
It's actually almost been 2 weeks since I last spoke to y'all, so that's super fun. With that being said, have not done any reading. I listened to a little bit more of Warbreaker. I'm on chapter 19, but nothing really new to report with it. And then last night, I started The Geographer's Map to a Romance, and I made it to chapter 4, which is page 44. So honestly, we're making leaps and bounds into this book, but I do already have some initial thoughts, which is that I love India Holton's character work so much. Already, I cannot wait to see how this plays out. Oh, hang on. I have a phone call to answer. Hey. You want to say hi to the vlog?
Sure. Hello. Hope you're enjoying the vlog. I don't know at what point you're putting this in your vlog. Hope you have been entertained. I hope Cass is really providing you with some high quality content. So
hopefully you guys feel that way. I don't know if you do or not.
If you don't know what to say.
I was just telling them that I've only read 44 pages in the past 2 weeks since I started this vlog.
Awesome.
But speaking of Katie being here, I'm going to set you aside if you don't mind. She's actually filming a 24-hour readathon, and I told her that I would join her on that readathon journey. Not fully, though, because I literally just filmed like a timer method 24-hour readathon not that long ago, and I don't hate myself that much to try to do another one. I don't have the energy nor the time to be doing that. However, I thought these next couple days when she's doing her little readathon, I could have her as company while I do my own reading. But anyway, as I was saying, made it to page 44, super far into this book, clearly, and unsurprisingly, I am enjoying it. I love all the tidbits of like the geography and the cartography situation, and there's not much happening at the moment with that, but any mention, I'm like, yes. The character work is already great. We've gotten some backstory about kind of what went down between Elodie and Gabriel and why they're in the situation that they are in and why they feel the way that they feel, even though neither of them have the right clue about how one another feels. Excited to see how that plays out. One of the things that India Holton does that always cracks me up is putting like a twist on like micro tropes, and they're not even tropes necessarily. Like last book, it was like, we have a bed problem, and typically it's like, oh, the characters go to an inn and there's only one bed and they have to sleep together. But in the last book, it was like, there's too many beds. There's like 7 beds stacked upon each other in one room. And then in this one, you know how characters are like, she released a breath she didn't know she was holding. She goes, Elodie looked away from Gabriel, releasing a breath she'd not only been holding, but had tied up and gagged too. So I just love India Holton's writing. It really is such a delightful time, and I can't wait to dive more into this book, which I will be doing. However, I think I actually want to start today off by reading the first volume of Witch Hat Atelier and then watching the first episode of Witch Hat as well, because I really want to do some crocheting, and I thought what better way to be productive than to, watch an episode after I read the book and get some crocheting done. However, speaking of crocheting, I may have made another star blanket, you guys. However, in my defense, it's for my mother. Look how pretty the colors are. I have been working on this literally nonstop for the past week and a half, I would say, because Mother's Day is around the corner. Well, Mother's Day has already passed. However, Mother's Day for when I'm visiting home and giving this to my mother is right around the corner. I love this so much. I haven't washed it, so it's still a little stiff, so I can't wait to see how drapey it is. I think this is like my favorite star blanket I've ever made. And of course, it's the one I'm giving away, so that's super fun. But it's gonna match her living room. And she mentioned wanting a star blanket after I crocheted like 3, and she was like, oh, I want one of those. And I was like, I got it. I asked her to send me the photos of like her living room decor if I could match it, and I'm just really proud of it, you guys. And you know what else I did in the past 2 weeks since I've been away from the vlog was that project I was alluding to wanting to work on, but I wasn't sure if I was gonna be able to work on it. Guys, I finished the whole thing. So I really wanted to draw the Yona of the Dawn map. So that's what I did. Look! I'm so proud of this, you guys, and this will be added to my shop at the end of summer. I'm aiming for like an early August shop update. I want to have this map, Lord of the Rings, Game of Thrones, Pokemon, and Quicksilver as well. So it's kind of an ambitious update. We'll see how much I get done. This one wasn't supposed to be on the list. However, you guys know Yona has been my recent obsession, and yes, my Yona holds came in, but no, I ended up taking the time to draw this instead of binging through all the Yona volumes. However, so soon will I be binging through all of those volumes. I literally cannot wait. And then the last little update I have for you is I bought the last contract of Sako because it finally came out. I have that in my possession, so we will get to that at some point, not sure when. And then for today, though, I'm going to focus on Witch Hat and the Geographer's Map to Romance, and then I'll come back with you with an update. It is really gloomy, by the way, so if like the lighting is terrible, I do apologize, but that's kind of all the updates I have for you. So sorry, it was like hardly any reading updates, and instead it was just like crochet and map update, but you can see what I've spent all my time doing these past 2 weeks. Now we are going to read because I have read no books in May so far, and I want to change that. So I may or may not have not locked in at all the other day when I was supposed to. And it's been a couple of days, you guys. I've just been in a really weird reading spot. Like I want to read, but I don't, but I want to draw, but I don't, but I want to do this, but I don't. So instead, I've done nothing. I've done a little bit of drawing, which actually I'll just show you right now. I don't know why I was showing a bit. I started a new map. This is Kanto from Pokemon. It's looking good. It is just the words. That's how it starts. I have the sketch underneath and I use a light board to be able to like trace my own sketch. I get to start the fun stuff today, which I'll do shortly. But I wanted to go ahead and give my thoughts on Witch Hat as well as my, I guess, like halfway thoughts of the Geographer's Map to Romance. So for Witch Hat, I enjoyed it. I thought it was really cute. I'm really excited to read more. I like how things ended off. I'm like, how did we get a dragon here? Like, what's going on? I'm very intrigued as to where the storyline is going. Obviously, we know Coco's motivations, but do we know the other characters' motivations? That is that. I also discovered that there's a map in this. That was very exciting for me. You guys know how I feel about maps, so that's fantastic. I also did not know that Kamon Shirahama was a cover artist for DC and Marvel, which is actually fascinating, and I can kind of see some influences like in the shading that does lean like a little DC Marvel-esque, so that's a fun little fact for you. I also did enjoy episode 1. I did not enjoy my crocheting because I found out that I mucked up all 16 granny squares that I had started, and it was such a minute detail, you guys. Basically, for the second row around, you're supposed to stitch under the stitch and not like crochet like normal into the stitch. And I did not do that. It is like the smallest detail that I noticed, and I know that I would continue to notice. And I'm like, if I'm gonna make over 100 squares, then I might as well do them all correctly and not push through doing 16 and have them all wrong. So I'm redoing those, and I just was like not in the mood to continue crocheting after that, nor was I really in the mood to pick up the Geographer's Map to Romance. However, I did pick it up and I made it to page 154, which is pretty much the halfway point. And honestly, I'm a little bored, which I was not expecting to be. I like the moments between Elodie and Gabriel, don't get me wrong. I think their characters are really fun, and I love the fact that they definitely like each other and they are definitely pining over one another, but neither will fully admit it. And neither of them are fully interpreting each other's signals correctly, which I think is hysterical. I love the constant like miscommunication, but not in a bad way, just like misinterpretation, I guess, more of that the characters are having, especially because you get both POVs. So you get something that Elodie does and thinks, and then you get how Gabriel actually is thinking and reacting. There was a moment where they both saw each other like changing in a reflection, and they were like, oh, God, I gotta turn away. I can't look away. Oh my gosh, that's my wife. That's my husband. And like those moments have been really fun. But the plot is plotting a bit too much, and I'm so bored with the plot. They're looking into all these random like surges of magic happening around this town and trying to discover what the source of said magic is and how to maybe like stop said magic from becoming like a hazard. And I just don't really care. And it's losing the whimsy and making me more annoyed. So I wish there was more Elodie and Gabriel moments. Like we're getting them, but we're not. I don't know. I'm so mixed about this book, and I don't know if it's because I'm not really like in a reading mood or if it's like an India Holton problem where I'm just not really vibing with her writing right now. I am going to go ahead and try to finish up this book today. I'm not going to start that immediately though, because I will be continuing on my map and doing a bit of drawing. However, I want to finish this book, and then I want to start the last contract of Isako. I don't think I'm going to be able to get to the Blue Castle at this point. Honestly, I'll be lucky if I even finish the last contract of Isako. I am on call today. I went on call at 4 a.m. and knock on wood, they have not called me, so I thought I'd go ahead and take this opportunity to get a little bit of work done on my drawing, as well as hopefully do a little bit of reading. However, I tend to be really high strung when I'm on call, so relaxing for me isn't really possible until I know that I like don't get called and I'm off, which is at 4 p.m., which is when my block ends. So maybe after 4 p.m. I'll do some reading, but in the meantime, I'm really, really excited to continue work on Kanto. I honestly was not expecting to start drawing this map straight away, but I have just been in the mood these past few days. I'm going to go ahead and get to drawing, and then I'll come back with you when I have done some more reading. It is actually quite a bit later. Like, it might be 3:45 a.m. type of later. You guys, listen, I have had so much anxiety surrounding being on call as a flight attendant, especially this month, because they haven't called me, which I'm really grateful for. I do like not flying. However, in the past, they've called me every single day. So basically, any day I was on call, mentally, I was like, I'm working. It's fine. And that's the mindset I've been in. And they haven't called me. It's just terrible. Anyways, so I did like take a nap earlier, as one does at like 8 p.m. So I'm not completely unrested, and I am going to bed right after this update. Fear not. However, two problems of like why I'm up until basically 4 in the morning. One, because I go on call at 4 in the morning, and I don't know. This job is slowly killing me, you guys. The anxiety and the stress is giving me killing me. But I also can blame it on my map, my second map of the vlog. To be fair, I didn't really vlog any of working on Yona, but I thought I would share a little bit of how this is looking, because I know you saw some of it earlier, and then it came together really quickly, but not really quickly, like quickly-ish, quickly adjacent, quickly for me. Sure, I spent like 10 to 12 hours on this today, but it's fine. I'm actually nearly done. I should be able to finish it up tomorrow if I don't get called. I have these trees here on the side to shade, and then water and grass. And then I'm done. I'm really, really chuffed with how this is turning out. Also, you may notice that there's like no border and no compass. Since I'm doing multiple Pokemon maps, I want all of them to have the same compass and border. So instead of redrawing that, I am just going to Photoshop from my Johto map and plop it onto my Kanto map, and I already did all the measurements to make sure everything would fit nicely, so that's why it looks a little blank, and that's also why this has come together quicker than my other maps. Not only because the font is like really easy to do, it goes very, very quickly because it's less of a rigid structure, and I don't have to like switch between pen sizes every single letter. It also doesn't have a border or a compass because I didn't have to redraw it. So that's fun. Anyways, moving on from my anxiety spirals and my drawing, I did finish the Geographer's Map 2 Romance. I gave it like a 3 stars. It was just kind of like okay. I'm actually really bummed that I did not enjoy it more. In fact, I was just trying to finish the book. I did not want to finish it. I wanted to DNF it, but at that point I was so close to the end, I was like, I might as well see where things end up. The problem is, I really loved Elodie and Gabriel, and I think I mentioned that previously. All the moments that we get of their cute little like romantic tension and them misinterpreting and just not having a single conversation was kind of fun. It was ridiculous in the way that literally these super smart scientist people couldn't have a single conversation to get on the same page about their relationship and how they truly felt about one another. But if you ignore that, it was fun. India Holton has like the quirky, silly, goofy writing. Well, maybe not the writing style per se, but like the plot elements. Like they got caught in quicksand, and to get out of quicksand, as everyone might assume, you have to do a waltz, because that's how you get out of magical quicksand, is by doing the waltz. So it's elements like that that make India Holton's book very like silly, goofy, but you're having a fun time while reading it. However, her writing tends to be almost Latined with too many long words. It got to the point where I started feeling stupid because of how many large and unnecessary words were in this, where it became so dense for no reason. And it wasn't like super advanced diction that was like tripping me up. It was like scientific terms and elements like that they were saying. It felt like it got to a point where it became so pretentious and over the top and too much, where I was like, do not make me pull out a dictionary for every other sentence that you speak to one another, because that's what it's feeling like, and I'm not having fun. I'm not thinking though that this is one that's going to be super memorable in the characters or the plot. And again, the plot I could have cared less about, and I think you are supposed to not really care that much about it, because like the romance really is supposed to be like the forefront, but then the plot started plotting too much, where I was like, I don't care about the plot, but you're focusing so much on the plot that it's making me really bored. So a 3 star. I'm not giving up on the series though. I will be picking up the Antiquarium's Object of Desire something like that. I don't know. I said the equestrian's object of desire the other day, and I was like, that's not right at all. So I think it's whatever the third book in this little series is, because I loved the first one. Like, I really liked it. And I'm like, how did I enjoy a book about birds more than I enjoyed the book about the geographers? Sad, sad but true. However, I did pick up The Last Contract of Asako, and honestly, while I was reading The Geographer's Map to Romance, I thought that I was in a reading slump, and no, that was not the case. I just didn't really like the book. It wasn't like right book, wrong time. I just don't think that I enjoyed the book, because I started reading this and I'm having a grand time, and I'm not even that far in, you guys. I'm on chapter 5, page 40, and I want to continue reading this. Like, if it wasn't, I don't know, 4 in the morning, I would probably stay up and continue reading this, because the chapter, I like read the first few lines in the next chapter and I'm like, oh crap, like things are about to go down. There's gonna be a little showdown moment, and we're only 5 chapters in. What I've gathered so far, mind you, I did start reading this at 3 in the morning. So if I sound like I'm saying the plot incorrectly, just note that I started this at 3 in the morning. It seems like the earth has limited oxygen and is also like decreasing in temperature, so it's slowly becoming inhabitable. There was some sort of like company acquisition, and Asako was tasked with like laying off some people. And apparently these layoffs are a little more dramatic than just, firing some people. Because if you don't have a job and you're not contributing to society, then why are you here? Why are you taking up oxygen? If you catch my drift, that's kind of what ends up happening. But then Isako ends up in a very interesting spot, because she has an exclusive contract with someone, and they made, let's say, an interesting decision, leaving her in a predicament, shall we say. A predicament that's about to come to head that I'm really, really keen to pick up. Honestly, I say this every bloody time I pick up a sci-fi book. I'm like, dang, I need to read more sci-fi, because how am I immediately eating this up? Makes me very happy though, because this was on my 2026 TBR, and this was like a highly anticipated release for me, and I was kind of nervous about whether or not I would be in the mood for it, especially because I don't often reach for sci-fi, so I'm like, am I in the mood for it? I never know. However, I am having a splendid time with this one, and I cannot wait to read this more tomorrow. I will probably read this one more tomorrow, as long as I don't get called, of course, and then I will finish my map. Very exciting plans for tomorrow. Basically what I do every day, which is work, draw, and read. So nothing new. However, the next bit of B-roll, as promised in the intro, is going to be a gymnastics competition that I had the other day. I was trying to hold off on showing the clips because I don't like to bombard you guys with gymnastics like straight away. I thought I'd let you enjoy a couple other segments of B-roll before I toss in all my gymnastics stuff. It was our state meet, and it was at 8 in the morning, which quite frankly was so disrespectful. I also only got 2 hours and 45 minutes of sleep because of anxiety. So can you see a common theme here with how my days have been going? I am incredibly proud with how I did, considering the 2 hours and 45 minutes of sleep, the getting up at 5 in the morning, the competing at 8 a.m. I feel like doing flips at 8 a.m. is just like, it should not be allowed, quite frankly, because I'm not 10 years old with bountiful energy. No. All of us did not want to be there. But you know what? We were there. We had fun. We did the thing. I got my highest score of the season. I got a 9.9 on floor, which is insane because I haven't tumbled in a month because my ankle, I sprained it and it's been slowly healing. So I don't know how that happened. And guys, I asked the judges because I'm so nosy. I was like, hey, what was the deduction? And it was my turn. It was my turn. They said I didn't have enough control out of my turn. And I said, okay, thank you. And I was really sad about it because I was like so close to a perfect 10. I had so much fun. I cannot wait to share the gymnastics clips. So I hope that you enjoy. And then I will come back with you, of course, when I have read more of The Contract of Asako. The Last Contract of Asako may be the last book of the vlog, but it's a chunky one. So it's going to take me a minute. am back from Texas. As you saw, I went to the Ren Fair, and honestly, I was going to vlog while I was home. I was going to read The Last Contract of Asako. However, my brother, it's all his fault, quite frankly. He would not shut up about this show called The Pit. It's like a medical drama. I don't do medical dramas, but he wouldn't shut up about it. I was like, fine, pop on the first episode. I'll see what's up. You guys, I don't really watch TV, and I was glued to the screen, and I got no reading done when I was in Texas. Literally 0 reading done. All I did was sit down and watch episodes of The Pit. I'm literally halfway through season 2. This is unheard of. It's been under a week. I don't do this, but well, I've been doing that. I've made a lot of granny square progress, which is very exciting. These suckers just need 1 more row, and then I'll have 15 more granny squares completed, which I will probably do after this update, because I'm only halfway through season 2 of The Pit, and I need to be completely caught up, because I only have HBO for a month, and I kind of also want to start Game of Thrones, so that is on the agenda. Yes, 15 more granny squares. Very exciting. I'm loving my progress. It's been very relaxing, tranquil, which is what I needed, especially after this morning. Actually, it wasn't really a chaotic morning. I just had to wake up at 3 o'clock in the morning because I had an airport standby shift from 4:30 in the morning until 10:30 in the morning, which was fantastic considering 2 days ago I got tattoos and I just had a weirder reaction than normal. I think I just sat for longer than I typically do getting tattoos, and I got multiple tattoos on my body, so I think my body was just like, hey, fuck you, you need rest. But then my job simultaneously was like, hey, fuck you, come in at 4:30 a.m. So that's what I did. But little tattoo tour. We have the hourglass. The hourglass is old. We have the leaves around the hourglass. It was bugging me for a while, and I really wanted some filler. So we got some filler. And then my old tattoo artist, one of my old tattoo artists, I've gone to 3 artists now. I have my girl. She's my girl. Love her. But the second artist I went to did my tattoos in wash, both of them. And I didn't ask for that. Wash is basically like a gray, which makes your tattoo looks 10 times older than it is. So my fan here and my lute looked like they were ancient when they're literally like 4 years old max. So I had her clean up and fix the line work as well, because the line work was sloppy and it was making me mad every time I looked at it. So that's nice and fresh, which will end up matching the flowers once it like is not super duper fresh, because those were added, as well as my lute here. I didn't have her update the little like magical sparkly wind situation. That's still in wash, which I think looks better because he also went a little heavy-handed with the magic sparkles. So I like it a lot more with it in wash with the separation. And then the star of the show, a little tricky to show you because it's on my forearm, but I finally got my compass tattoo, of course surrounded by oak leaves, because who am I but not a fan of Ranger's Apprentice, and I have to, you know, tattoo it on my flesh to get the idea in everyone's head that that is the case. But I literally am obsessed with this. The compass looked a lot different when my tattoo artist first designed it. So while I said I didn't want to design this tattoo, I kind of ended up designing the tattoo. We collaborated together to fix how I wanted the compass to look, and I love it. My favorite tattoo, other than my back piece, which is like 2 koi fish. I'm so excited that I have these and wanted to share it with y'all. Also, I wanted to share that I have finished The Last Contract of Asako. I actually finished it up this morning at, 4:30 in the morning, as one does. I didn't finish it at 4:30. I started reading it around 5 o'clock and then finished it around 8:30, I would say. I ended up giving this a solid 4 stars, honestly, but the ending left me mixed, very mixed. I didn't realize also that like halfway through this switched POVs. So that was also like a shocking discovery for me, and one that I really liked. But let me rewind. Obviously we're following Asako, and she gets stuck in a predicament that leads her to have to fulfill a contract that's a little shady, I would say. It kind of fell into a loophole that her contractor was exploiting, and if Asako wants her daughter to get all the benefits and everything from her completing her job and staying in good standings, she has to complete this job. Therefore, she doesn't really have a choice when it comes to her actions. She has to follow the code in order to take care of her daughter. She is an older protagonist, being around 50, which I actually really enjoyed. I don't read a lot of books with older protagonists, like in their 50s, I would say, and I really liked that. I want to read more. Did enjoy Fonda Lee's writing. Like I said, I did try the Greenbone Saga, but I wasn't a huge fan of the urban setting. But this like space opera situation. I really enjoyed. I thought there'd be more spaceships. There were not spaceships, so I was a little disappointed in that. But like I mentioned earlier, halfway through, we did switch narratives to a POV that I can't really talk about because I don't want to spoil it. However, it was a really pleasant surprise, and I really, really enjoyed their POV. It was such an interesting way to structure the story, especially like narratively, because we know what happens to this particular character. It jumps back in time, and then we follow the points leading up to the moment that we left Asako off on, and then we jump back into present time. And it gives you a lot of context for things that Asako doesn't quite see in her investigations. The whole situation and like the politics of this world is super shady. We have the board of directors who are kind of like the leaders of this world, and they're doing some shady stuff. And it's revealed that they continually do shady stuff, which is not great. And then we have the agency, who is made up of all these really skilled longblades who are samurais, essentially, which is what Asako is. And they too are shady as hell. Literally everyone in this book, I'm like, what are we doing? We got the POVs from 2 characters, but I feel like there was 2 other characters that really stood out in the forefront of being like more main characters, and getting to follow their storylines was tragic. This book, I will say the ending, it's not a happily ever after. So if that's what you're looking for, I wouldn't pick this up. If you're not a fan of having more questions than answers and being really frustrated with an ending, don't pick this book up. I understand narratively why Fonda Lee chose to write the ending how she did. It was well done in a way, but at the same time, it felt really nihilistic, and it didn't really leave me in a feeling of escapism, I would say. It made me feel very bleak about the world. So if you want those feelings, I definitely recommend picking up The Last Contract of Asako. Do not get me wrong, like I said, I enjoyed it. I give it a solid 4 stars. I wish there was a little bit more character work done with Asako. I wish we did go slightly deeper, because the second POV we get, I feel like we really delved in. I really, really felt for this character, especially what they ended up going through and the burden that fell onto their shoulders against their will. I just felt really connected to that second POV. However, with Asako, it was kind of hit or miss. Like, yes, I felt for her, but I wasn't as invested as I was with the second POV character. All in all, a very solid story. I will be picking up anything else that Fonda Lee writes that may sound interesting to me, so I consider that a success. I'm also glad this was on my 2026 TBR, and we finally got another book knocked off the list. We're almost halfway through the year, and I've knocked off 3 out of like 16, I would say, so we are trucking along at a glacier speed, quite frankly. We are here to wrap up the vlog as well. I don't really remember this book because, like I said, it was very, very forgettable, and I just didn't really enjoy it. The more I sat and thought about it, the less that I liked it. All the moments that I thought I really enjoyed, I still am just like, it was forgettable. I'm going to be thinking about The Last Contract of Asako far longer than The Geographer's Map to Romance. And then we also have Witch Hat Atelier Volume 1. I will be continuing this on, I think, via anime, though. I don't feel any real inclination to continue on the manga. However, if the anime leaves off on a cliffhanger, I will be picking up the manga to continue the story. I also have a little book haul. Bonus book haul. I picked up Volume 1 of A Sign of Affection. I picked this up off of Pango. It probably didn't come damaged the first go around, but it made it all the way here, and they sent it back. Went on a little US tour, made its way back to me. Shout out, though, to Pango's customer service. Speaking of Pango, I have a bunch of books that I unhauled recently, so if you are in the market for very cheap books that I really, really want to get rid of because my apartment is really small and I'm sick of having them in my closet, please do me a favor, check out my Pango. If you want the book prices to be even cheaper, message me. I will negotiate, okay? That's how desperate I am to get rid of my books, you guys, the ones I don't want. Anyways, this is the end of the vlog. I really hope that you enjoyed. I did have a really great time vlogging the experience of all the different things that I did, as well as my reading. Honestly, kind of a mixed bag with the reading, but overall, I'm content. Anytime I read, I'm fairly content, especially because I was supposed to read a lot more this month, but I have been doing a lot of drawing, and I have been sucked into the pit, so there's that going for me as well. But thank you all for watching. Please let me know what you've been reading. What are your thoughts on the Contract of Asako if you have read it? Really curious on your thoughts on the ending if you kind of feel the same way that I do. I would really love to hear about that. Thank you again for watching, you guys, and I hope to see you in my next one. Toodles!